It's a good looking snake. So Kristen, with her amazing eyes, found this little baby copperhead here right along the main trail. So here in Texas, in this specific area, as you know, we have cottonmouths and we have the copperheads that are the two primary that we'll find around here. Yep. Have you ever found any coral snakes here?
We do have coral snakes here. They're a little bit more shy and they tend to come out at dusk. And they really like it out on the trails and in the farmhouse area for some reason, but the most common are going to be copperhead and cottonmouth.
Again, it just kind of shows the different wildlife here.
Yeah, and what we do, because I'm actually the one that relocates all of our venomous snakes whenever we find them, and I take them back out onto the trails.
Yep. All right, guys. So we're actually here at the Armand Bayou Nature Center. So you just saw that copperhead, so we can actually see him right over here. So what we're doing today is we're actually going to go back into their nature center that you remember us redoing about a year and a half ago, because they finally just got to reopen back up from the coronavirus. So it's really, really exciting that we're finally back to be able to get out here and enjoy this wonderful place. I'm really excited to show you guys how well they've been maintaining their enclosures, as well as, you know, just walking through here, we find a little baby copperhead that's here just chilling. And I think that's a really awesome way to start our day here at Armand Bayou Nature Center. So, you know, I think it's time that we get to it. All right, guys, so you remember Kristen, the curator at the Armand Bayou Nature Center. So like I said, we're gonna go through and just show you guys how all these tanks are doing. And I gotta tell you, I'm blown away by everything. Kristen, lead us off with our prairie king snake here.
All right. So Kingsley has thoroughly enjoyed his bioactive enclosure. As you can see, he has built all sorts of friggin' tunnels. We tried using prairie plants that we propagate here, but because of all of his tunnels, they really didn't do so hot. So I slowly replaced them with some of y'all's plants, and they're doing pretty good. He is still trying to rearrange. I guess he doesn't like the feng shui of the plants, but he is loving the dirt.
You can tell that he's literally used every section of this terrarium. We have a big open burrow down here. We have a burrow here. We have a burrow here. I don't know if you guys remember those rocks that I put in over there. He has just little sections everywhere, and you can tell he uses it. You can just look at the substrate. You can see how it's all different layered and everything. This was one of the grasses that came from BioDude. Is that an original fern?
No, all the plants that are in here now are all ones that I've replaced.
Got it. So this is one of the few tanks that we've had to replace some of the plants, but the soil itself is looking like it's doing really, really well. I mean, Kingsley seems like he's enjoying it.
He loves dirt hats.
Yeah. See, dig it. And then down here, this tank is beautiful. So we have a speckled king snake in here. So Kristen, tell me a little bit about this dude and about the plants in here.
All right, so Buttercup has, as you can see, she is loving having different basking areas. She particularly hangs out there and in the bird nest. She'll just plop right in the middle of it and then just look at you like, oh, check me out.
And these plants in here are the original plants.
The original
plants,
plants, yep.
That bird's nest fern was from a 4-inch pot. It literally grew 50 times its size since last time. Same thing with the fern and the waffle plant. But what I'm really liking here, I see 2 snake exhibits, and they're both out comfortably. The whole point of this area is for people to get exposure to these animals, to see them. And it's really nice when these animals are just out, and because they feel secure in their environment, that the people that come in here allow wonderful people like Kristen to be able to show them and talk about them and help younger audiences gain an interest in what we love to do so much. So, you know, I really gotta see our girl down here.
Oh yeah. So Cordelia, which I know, big girl, she's actually lost some more weight. She has been ridiculously active. You can see all the areas that she's packed down. I mean, she goes over every inch of this place. And I think she loves having 3 separate hides. So she hides there usually, And this log back here, and then behind the Schiffelera.
I remember this piece of wood right here. I was
Yep.
super envious.
Yep, that was her original hide. So
Yep.
that of course is her favorite. And you know, the heating lamp is right there. But
I remember when we first built this enclosure, the Schiffelera was a quarter of that size, and the first place she went was right under that Schiffelera in the back corner. And now look at her, she's just so precious, just sitting there in her fine self.
oh yeah, well, and she's amazing, and she puts herself out on display, and then she'll go and she'll hide for a little bit, but she does that whole peekaboo kind of thing behind the Schiffelera, like, you can't see me.
So you guys also remember the copperhead. So this dude, we had to, you know, really be careful when we put him in this enclosure because he does have some underlying things that he was dealing with. Kristen, tell us a little bit about how he's been doing since we've gotten him in this enclosure, some of the if there's any challenges that you faced with him acclimating or anything like that.
So he was probably the biggest change that I've noticed. Beforehand, he really had issues shedding. It was really long periods of shed. He'd go 2 to 3 months, and he would shed in all pieces. It was never a solid piece. He was very hit and miss with feeding, so he would eat and then would go through periods where he wouldn't. And probably about a month or two after you guys came and did the build, I would say this is a different snake. He has been consistently eating. He has consistently shed. The last shed that he had was 2 days ago, and it was complete, and it only took 3 days. So he is thriving in here, and it makes me so friggin' happy.
He loves his Dracaena too, guys. This thing's like, it's almost 18, arguably almost 24 inches tall with root base. When we put that plant in there, it was tiny. I love it. I love seeing like how the things change. And then this guy, and I remember how active this rat snake was when we put him in here. You know, and I remember he climbed up, still was able to climb up the side of the enclosure with the different wood grain and everything. What was his name? I can't remember.
Rusty.
Rusty. That's it. So how's Rusty been doing in here?
Rusty's been doing pretty good. He's definitely enjoyed the climbing. We have been in a little bit of a fight since we've gone bioactive because he wants to go up and unplug the lights, and he likes to try to figure out how to dismantle how the wood's configured together so he can kind of take it apart so he can watch me rebuild it. But he's really enjoying having a lot of different surface areas to climb on. He is a little bit more hard to handle, I think, just because it's new, and of course him not being used for demos because rat snakes tend to be bitey anyways. But he
Flighty,
is
bitey, poopy on you.
yeah. Everybody's always worried about the venomous snakes, and I'm like, but he's rounding the corner. Okay. He's doing much better. We're able to handle him more.
Good.
And he's right now he's actually in blue. You can see him in there just a chilling, but.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like a fool. He's like literally right there, and he's deep in shed. I love the quartz. So you see the green rock fern right into the left there. You want to come stand. There you go. You can see his little face. Again, so while he wasn't the easiest to find, you can still find him. And
well, of course, him being in shed, it's not.
Yeah, he's like, I can't see you anyway. So we have our little snapping turtle down here. This is an alligator snapping turtle, correct? How's he?
She's doing pretty good.
Or she?
No, you're good. I have lots of critters. It's hard to keep them up. They're like my kids. So I'm like, no, I got it. But she's doing really well. I think she's loved it even more over here. That now that we've moved her, given her some more space.
Yeah.
She has more hangout areas that she can choose from now. She'll still go under her little filter here and get her massage and then go back to that area under the heat lamp.
Do you ever see her like come out and actually bask?
I have.
Really?
So
okay.
I've only in the past 6 to 8 months I've seen her do it twice. And that's just me seeing her do it.
Yep.
So I'm happy to see that because I'd never seen her do that previously, and I've been here 5 years.
Whenever I would in Pennsylvania, so they weren't alligators, but it was the common snappers, and I'd find them and, you know, catch them. They were always in the shallower water. Do you guys, are they commonly always in shallower, or do they sometimes venture into deep? Obviously, a big alligator snapper is going to need to be in slightly deeper water.
Yeah.
But is this a general rule of thumb for people that are keeping or rehabilitating snapping turtles that the water level needs to be lower?
Yeah, have a more shallow area for them, because you want them to be able to sit comfortably but be able to reach their head up to stick their head out.
So that way
they
don't have to move as much. They can just go.
Yep, because alligator snapping turtles are going to be more sedentary than common snapping turtles.
Okay.
So you want to be able to have it a little bit lower, so that way they don't have to move as much.
So you told me about those neat Texas mosquito fish. Do we have any of them out here?
We have some in our freshwater tank down here.
Nice. So Kristen was telling me something really interesting about this species of fish. So tell us.
They are a crazy species of fish that are live bearers, and they are found in almost every body of freshwater in the world, at least some species of Gambusia. We'll be out here in the prairie doing restoration work, and you'll find what's called a prairie pothole, which is just a little puddle out in the middle of the prairie, nothing else around, and there will be mosquito fish in there.
It's like, how do they just show up?
So there's thoughts of birds landing in freshwater and the babies getting caught in the feathers, or them, of course, being food, and then the birds landing out in the prairie and them being out there.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. And I'm sure you guys remember this build. It's thriving. It has a wolf spider in it. That pothos, variegated pothos, was taken over this enclosure. But I remember building this one, and I was super happy about it. And I loved how it looks. We got some bullfrog tadpoles down here. Some crawfish.
Yep. I think we have some leopard frogs, bullfrogs, and I believe there is a cricket frog tadpole
that's cool.
in there.
Nice.
It's kind of, tadpoles are really, really hard to ID. Oof.
Yeah.
And I even have a cheat sheet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So I know for sure we have leopard and bull in there.
That's awesome.
And then we have.
I love the crawfish.
And we got more crawfish. So with all that rain that we had gotten, we went out and tried to, find whatever critters we could find. And right in the ditches, as you enter the nature center, on each side, it floods. And we went out there, and you could just dip your net in a second, and you'd come out with 10 crawfish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we got several different species, because I don't know if we talked about it last time or not, but there's 36 different species of crawfish in Texas alone.
That's insane.
Yep. And 330 species in the world.
Just know
So
that.
I mean, there's so many. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
To have at least, I think I have at least 8 different species in here. It's really neat. And then they're another one that they are self-propagating. They'll sit there and they'll make babies and hatch out. And
you'll have a little neat little. And there's all Texas stuff in here, guys. So I guess what I love about this place, like their mission statement is to educate us Texans about the animals that make Texas so special. And this build, I loved this build. This is if I'm not mistaken, some gray tree frogs and some gray tree frogs. So as of right now, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 2 greens, 2 grays. So you guys know, I have actually some green tree frogs in my showroom that I keep with my corn snakes that have been thriving for years together. And we also have some of the gray tree frog right here. You can actually see this guy right here. Now these guys, they like to lay their eggs in like vernal, above vernal pools, and then the tadpoles live in the pools, and then a bunch of little baby froglets come out, which I think is really cool. Do you guys remember that neem, the Bella palm we put here is centralized? Pretty much everything is growing exactly as anticipated. What I like is how open it is. Gives them a chance to really do a full hop.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice too, because as you said, we tried to make the build centralized, so they have plenty of area to hide right in the middle, but then they can hop around around the outside. And they absolutely love it in here. They've attempted to make babies several times. They haven't successfully done it yet.
Now I see big girl right there full of eggs.
Yeah.
She almost looks like a dumpy with how fat she is.
Well, that and an aggressive eater.
That's okay too.
They know.
So as far as like maintaining your humidity in here, what are you guys using like besides misting?
I have a humidifier hidden up here.
Oh, okay. Nice. I see
so-
what you did. You put that top vent
Yep.
into the humidifier. That's
Yep.
freaking genius.
Because of course, us being a nonprofit, we have to work with what we have.
Yeah, but
and somebody donated a humidifier that they weren't using anymore, so we fitted it to make it a reptile humidifier, even though it was a human humidifier. So it does its job. And this one actually has functioned. I think we've had it, from what I can remember, now this is going off of stories, but I believe we've had it for about 12 years. So it's...
That's pretty good.
Yep.
All right, so over here we have a Mississippi mud turtle.
Mm-hmm. He's hiding.
I like the sand. Oh look, he's like, wait, do
you have food?
He knows that you are the bringer of food. He's looking right at you. So how long have you had this guy?
Oh, okay. We've had Marshall since I believe 2006 or 2007.
Marshall's adorable.
And he's another one.
He's
that
hungry.
When we shifted everybody around, he has just literally come out of his shell. His personality has blossomed since we've given him more space.
Yeah, this is a great size aquarium for just him.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, remember my red ear slider video? This is a 4-inch carapace turtle. This is a 55-gallon tank. This is a good starter size for a lone Mississippi mud turtle. But so I'm assuming you give him like worms. Does he eat these?
Mm-hmm.
These
He'll
fish?
eat the fish every once in a while. He is one of our few residents that doesn't eat the fish as often, but he'll eat them.
It's chunky.
Yeah. Well, and he's very special in that when I feed him his bloodworm cubes and his brine cubes, I have to give them to him one at a time, or he'll get overwhelmed and then he'll be like, I don't know what to do, and end up not eating. So
he does have a lot of personality. Literally the moment you approach the cage, he was out and ready. So you guys also remember this 10-gallon that we sent up here. It has my glow and grow for a Gulf Coast toad. Now I love how this tank looks. It gives him a lot of space, and you see him there chilling. Look how chunky he is. He literally has a small roll on the front. And he has the front entrance of his little den. Now, does he call at all for you, or is he? He
has called a handful of times.
Yeah.
He normally doesn't, but he's another one that he's pretty receptive when people walk up. That he's like, "Hey, what you guys doing? You have any food for me?"
Yeah.
And so he's done pretty well in there. I mean, he explores all of it. At first, he was not very sure about the top portion of that wood.
Yeah.
And he found a little way up there, and he's like, oh, okay. And he sits up there right at the peak of the wood, and like, I'm the king of the castle.
King of the castle. All right, so we also have, you guys also remember this build that we did. Now, Amber mainly did a lot of this one, but I got to help a little bit with the cork tubes, and everything held in place extremely well. That bird's nest fern put on a lot of size, so did that aglaonema and the Schefflera. So what do we have? We have anoles in here. Is it green and brown, or is it just greens?
Just green anoles.
Okay.
Yep, just green anoles.
And we also have some eggs in here too, you were saying?
Yeah, so they're in the cork tube. The last time that I checked, they're kind of in a funky spot in the top cork tube. But we have one in here that I affectionately call Funky Lips. She is right here on the bird nest.
Oh yeah, she does have funky lips.
Yep.
Oh.
So she was like that when we got her. We found her, she escaped being eaten and was found on a boardwalk.
I rescue many from French in my backyard.
Yep.
It, honestly, so the brown anoles here, guys, in Texas are the Pomian anoles, they are extremely invasive. They're actually out-competing the green anoles.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna lie, you know, I usually save all of them, but I'm more quicker to save the green ones than I am the brown ones. Yeah. I hope that's not unethical, but that's just
no. I mean, when you're talking about invasive species, even though it's not their fault that they're here, that doesn't mean that they can hang out here.
And you can see their own little group right here. I mean, she almost looks like she has eggs. She's like huge in the back end there.
It's great. I love how they literally built, we have this giant cage for, you know, just a little green anole. I think that's awesome.
I think we have 5 in here right now.
That's great.
Yep.
That's so much space, so much room for activities.
Yeah.
And then we have some little American alligators. So you guys know, like here at this park, like there is marshes everywhere, and where there's marshes here in Texas, likely you're gonna find an American alligator. So tell us a little bit about these two. What's your plans with them?
Okay. Well, I said, because we didn't have these guys when you were here.
No, we didn't.
So this is Tater and Tot. Salsa and queso are up front. But these guys are from Brazos Bend State Park. They have those little silver toe tags. That's their markers for the state park.
Oh, so that's how they do it?
Yep, so whenever they get them in, because what Brazos does is they monitor their trails and areas that are really popular areas for gators to lay their eggs that flood, and then the waters recede really, really quickly, just to make sure that there's not eggs in a funky spot or too close to where people travel a lot. And they'll collect those eggs, incubate them, make sure that they're viable, and then they distribute them to places like this. And we keep them for about a year, depending on scheduling and what all's going on. But once the year mark rolls around, I put them outside for about a month or two to make sure that they get resensitized to humans. They don't want to associate us with food when we go back out into the wild. So they're really easily resensitized to us.
Good to know.
So then I take them on down and we release them out into the wild.
That's
and they
awesome.
go on their way.
That's got to be really rewarding too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And when we try to pick a really good spot so that way we're not putting them out to the ambush of, you know, a big beefy gator coming up.
Come on.
People coming over and farting around with them. And so we try to pick a nice secluded spot.
And you know, you can see them. So it's a lot of fun to see gators in the wild, but it's really cool to help those Texas populations maintain their.
Oh yeah. Well, and especially since these guys are, you know, one of the main stories of success for the Endangered Species Act. I mean, they're living proof that document works. So it's great that we can assist in keeping the population up.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Okay, and then last but certainly not least, looks like we have is this a video slider? No,
Yep, we have a painted turtle and a red-eared slider. Okay. He's in here somewhere. And they've knocked over their plane again.
Yep, these little right back there. So these guys they're also Texas natives. Red-eared sliders, though, I don't think they were originally Texas natives.
No, and neither were painted turtles. So they're ones that, you know, people most likely had them as pets, didn't want them anymore, put them outside. But because, you know, they're all slider type turtles, they thrive pretty easily, especially in retention ponds.
Yeah.
But that way, we decided to keep them just because we want people to know what they are.
Yep.
Our painted turtle, we found him inundated with leeches in Mays Pond. I mean, he had at least 50 leeches on him, and he was half that size.
Oh
so
my God.
He was pretty emaciated. So we took him all off and kept him, and he's beefed up a good bit. And then our red-eared, we found on the boardwalk. We think that somebody tried to eat him, and it didn't go so well for the predator, and he just left him. So, but he is.
I see him. He's down there chilling.
He's much
little
smaller.
biddles. Yeah. Maybe about 5 inches. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, guys, we're really happy to show this to you. Oh, that last thing, the bird sightings. I take it you haven't seen anything cool.
Well, we haven't had anybody inside to write anything down, but this year has actually been a really good migratory bird year. We really beefed up our setup outside. We put up water drippers.
I saw like the bird thing, and then the feeders and things like that.
We put out drippers, and we had out several different kinds of feeders and oriole feeders, and we still have hummingbird feeders up. So we've seen some really, really cool birds. I believe you can check it out on eBird. They list out what they found through Armand Bayou.
That's pretty cool.
I know they found some cerulean warblers, Canadian warblers, Kentucky. I mean, there's at least, I think, 15 different species of warbler alone, and several of them were, you know, endangered. I think it was golden cheek or golden winged was one of the main ones that had everybody really stoked.
Man.
Yeah.
One day I'll find that painted bunting when I have a chance
We're
to
trying.
go.
Oh, we're trying
You gotta
to get
go to
them
Big
here.
Bend. That's
Yep.
what I hear.
Well, because they used to be here, but whenever we started to restore the
Yeah.
prairie, they really love bushy kind of thicket areas, and that's going to be more in our forest,
Yeah.
not in the prairie. So once we started restoring the prairie back to its natural state, they were like, "Nah, we're going to go somewhere else."
I digress.
Yeah.
Guys, this place, I'm so glad that they finally had the ability to reopen after almost, what, 2 years? Year and a half?
Year and a half
of not allowing anybody in here. But even with nobody coming in here, everything's still thriving, and I'm really happy for that. And I think it's really cool to be able to work with, you know, a nonprofit like this to help that community outreach about these awesome animals. So, Kristen, I really appreciate you. You guys know me. I'm Josh Halter, owner and founder of the Bldg. I'm here at Armand Bayou Nature Center here in Houston, Texas, right off Bay Area Boulevard. Be sure to come here, check out this amazing room. You can see the bison, you can do birding, and you can walk through beautiful nature trails here. Come check out my store here in Houston Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, and Saturday 10 to 2. Subscribe to me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Appreciate the support. The dude abides.
Over here is where we see all the coral snakes.
Over here?
They really like the carpenter shop and this little smokehouse shed.